Hi students! The handout I gave you for music theory might require a little explanation, so this is an effort to do that. On the first page it talks about clefs. You know, the staff is 5 lines where they put all the notes, and the clef is at the beginning of the staff. We are concerned only with the treble clef. So when you come back to your lesson, I want you to show me the treble clef on that first page. That is the type of area in the type of sound that the violin makes. For instance, if you look at a keyboard, it has a lot of notes and they go from very low to very high. Well, the violin kind of falls in the mid-range, so they made a clef that relates to that. It's also called a G clef. And so that's the clef you'll be reading from as you learn how to read music. Music is also not only notes, but it contains a rhythm to these notes. So the notes have different values. And you will see on your sheet the values of the notes. And the actual number value is denoted by the time signature. The time signature is written after the treble clef. And a lot of times it says 3-4 or 4-4. The explanation for this is the top number represents the number of beats in a measure, and the bottom number represents what type of note gets that beat. A lot of times in you'll see 3-4. That would mean there were 3 quarter notes to a measure. And as you see from your handouts, a measure are those little lines. It's how they figure out rhythm and how they make music. Because if it was just one big long note, it wouldn't be very musical. So they move around the musical notes with rests and with different rhythms, and they keep it mathematically correct by having measures and having certain number of beats in each measure. It's quite mathematical. Now the values of the notes, you will see a whole note is just an empty circle. The half note has a stick on it. The quarter note is a filled in circle with a stick, and so on. So memorize these note values, because as you learn how to play, even though you're overwhelmed with bowing and putting your fingers down, eventually you'll learn how to keep rhythm. And as we progress, we'll get you something called a metronome. A metronome is something that you calibrate for how many beats you want a minute, and you play in time with it. It's tricky. It'll keep you on your toes, rhythmically speaking. And as you know, the violin has 4 strings, the bottom G, then D, then A, and then E. The note relationships are fifths apart. By that I mean, if you count G as 1, A, which is the first finger on the G string, as 2, B, C, D. That's 5 steps apart. Music is like an alphabet, and it goes from the letter A to the letter G. So the violin is designed so that G and D, when played together, is a perfect fifth. And as you learn how to tune your instruments, you will start to hear when it's out of tune, and you can tune it easily. When you play open G and open D, it's actually a G chord. And because they're fifths apart, if you go up with your fingers and you play the first finger, because you know it goes from A to G and then it repeats itself. So if the first note on the bottom is open G, then you start, the first finger will be A. The second finger will be B. The third finger will be C. And the fourth finger on the G string will be D. And this D matches the string above it, open D. So this is a violin trick. The fourth finger on the lower string should match the next string up. Of course, you can't do it with the E string because there's no string above that. There's another trick. Because these strings are fifths apart, if you're on the D string and you go up, the first finger is E, the second finger is F, and the third finger is G. G matches the string open G below it. So the third finger on the top string is an octave above the note open string below it. Because notes are 8 steps apart, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, that is called an octave. And you will notice on the piano, it starts at a very low octave and goes way high. And the violin, all the octaves and all the notes are kind of in the middle of that piano. So this is something we'll study more as we play more. You will see how note relationships are with one another. And learn how to read the open notes, open strings, and what they look like on the staff, because it makes reading music much easier if you can recognize them immediately, and then you'll know what string you're playing on. That's why I wrote in the fingers, what finger you're playing on and what string it is, and then you wrote the notes above. But eventually, my little finger patterns are going to go away because you're going to learn them by repetition. The whole thing about violin is just repetition. Every day you practice and you learn more each day. Even when you're not thinking you're learning, you are. The subtlety of the bowing, the how to hold the instrument, always keep that intact because you are part of the instrument, and the way you hold it creates a certain sound. It makes a big difference how you bow it and how you hold it. So that is the first part of your Little Music Theory Course 101, brought to you by Janet. Bye.